Nicholas, and you're watching Drake Nick's Vision. Today I want to talk a little bit about the inner rebel, the aspect of us that seems to pop up all the time just when we think that we're finally doing what's right. We're finally on track, we're finally showing up to our job every day, and then the inner rebel comes in, and then all of a sudden we end up on a different path. Before I get into that, I just want to let you know a little bit about myself. I am a soul guide, I am a holistic educator, and I help people to become their very best selves by aligning with their soul purpose and the unique thing that they are meant to bring to this planet. As a holistic educator, I help people to see not only the woo-woo, because I'm all about the woo-woo and I can go into the woo-woo, but I also want to make it accessible, and I also want to ground that information into the ways that we're taking care of the environment and our communities, because that is equally as important as we go through this awakening process into embodying divine love, heart-centered expression. We come to this place and we show up in the world in this way so that we can be of service to others, but we have to ground it in. We can't stay in the woo-woo all day long. So today we're talking about the inner rebel and what that looks like to have the inner rebel. Some of us have it more strongly than others. You know, I can remember when I was 18 or something and I was in college, and I really loved God, and I'd go to church and I'd show up on Sundays, and everybody around me, they were, just a couple years older, but they were married. Some of them had kids, and they were just so good. They were good, they didn't really mess around, and they definitely didn't drink a lot or do drugs. And it was very awkward for me being this very rebellious younger person, because I was going to church and I loved God, and I used to teach all these classes and read the Bible all the time. I also was partying really hard, and I was drinking way too much, and I was high all the time, and I chain smoke cigarettes all day long, and I didn't see myself in those people. And it was very, very confusing, because I wanted to show up, I wanted to be good, in the ways that they seemed like they were good, but it just wasn't the way that I was designed. And as I moved forward, I kind of broke out of what are the philosophies that I need to abide to when it comes to my spiritual process. And as I went through that, and I went through the journeys and figured out what I was good at, I was getting really excited, and I'd get really passionate, and I would dedicate myself to a new job or to a new adventure. But then the inner rebel would show up, and then I'd find myself drinking more than I had wanted to, or doing something that it was kind of out of left field, where I didn't know that was going to happen. And so I had to work with that side of myself. And as I got older, it was really interesting to see that relationship shift, and to see myself stepping out of the inner rebel, but still noticing that the inner rebel was still part of me. And a big part of my healing work that I've done with myself and that I do with my clients is that we go in and we look at the relationship that we've had with different versions of ourself, or that the relationship that we currently have with the different versions of ourself that have existed at some point. So, as we get older, we mature and we can see ourselves becoming these different people, but that 10-year-old version of you that was really depressed and didn't fit in and was really awkward, she still lives inside of you. And the 16-year-old who also felt really isolated and strange, she's still inside of you. And then you have the 19-year-old version that is really radical but going through this awakening. She's a magical individual, but she's definitely that inner rebel too. They all have this inner emo gothic rebel to them, and those are all aspects of me that I carry. And so as I've done my healing work, I've developed conversations with those aspects of me, and developed better friendships where I can support those aspects and find ways to let those aspects of myself express themselves and to show up in the world, but in a healthy way that doesn't get in the way of me living my life. And you could look at it as a metaphor. Somebody might be oh, you're schizophrenic, you got different versions of yourself, but it's no, literally every single one of you have these different versions inside of you. Those younger versions of yourself are still there. The little kid who is not being heard, the little kid who's being excluded, the little kid who's being made fun of, the little kid who, whatever. We all have something that we went through as a young person that still haunts us, that still follows us, that still colors the way that we see the world. And as we learn to work with those versions of ourselves, we are able to heal them and integrate them so that we can become a more full version, and not let those aspects of ourselves still dictate how our current reality is playing out, because patterns repeat. And so we want to make sure that we're taking out anything that is from the old and re-infiltrating it, redesigning it, consciously putting ourselves in the conscious creator position of figuring out who do we actually want to be as we show up in the world, and not based on what has happened before. Because we're starting from clean slates once we begin to identify where the old patterning came from. As I've gotten older, I see these versions of myself still inside. And now, it's like I have to listen to that gothic music sometimes. I have to listen to the angsty emo music. Sometimes I have to let myself have like a handful of drinks and maybe even a couple of cigarettes. And, I think that it's interesting on the spiritual path, because you have some people that are just so pure. You never drink, you never smoke, you always eat pure. That's great. That's wonderful. But I don't know that it's entirely practical for all of us. And it's an ongoing journey, I can be plant-based for a really long time and not have alcohol for a really long time. And then I can break that, and I'm not going to beat myself up, and I'm not less spiritual because I do those things. And anybody who says, oh, I'm more spiritual than you because I do these things all the time, and look how aligned I am all the time. That's some bullshit. Because if we are truly rising into our higher selves and we're really embodying our wholeness, we embody all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the healthy, the responsible, the procrastinator. All those things live within us. We just learn to work with them in different ways, and we learn to heal them, and we learn to align them. And because I have those things within myself, and I honor them and I respect them, and I really, really have a good understanding of how those things play out in my life, and I can mitigate them a little bit from taking over. But because I can do that with me, I can hold a healthier space for other people to also play out whatever they need to in the moment. And so, when I see the darker aspects of somebody, I see somebody showing up and they're making bad decisions, and I'm like, man, that's not really benefiting your life. Who am I to talk? I am still trying to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. I don't have enough time to think about other people's processes. Either you're aligned with me right now or you're not. And if you're not, that's great. I can still love you from afar. Just because you're still working on that one specific issue that I can't necessarily help you on, it doesn't mean that you're going to be that person forever. You just calmly step back, you give that person peace and love, give yourself thanks for being where you are, and loving yourself through your processes. Again, we're always bringing it back to ourselves. And if anybody else is showing us something that we don't like, maybe it's showing us an aspect of us that we still need to look at. So that's all I have today about loving the inner rebel. But I want you to think about, where does the inner rebel show up in your life? What type of relationship do you have with the inner rebel? Does the inner rebel make all the decisions right now? Are they in control? Are they in the driver's seat? Or have you put them into the back seat? The inner rebel is a gift at the end of the day, because it makes you more human, and it makes you, more able to go into lots of different types of groups of people and to love people despite their flaws, because you recognize that you are this beautiful, awesome, perfectly imperfect person as well. If you liked what you heard today, make sure that you subscribe below, leave your comments, share with a friend. You can also head over to my website, www.draytonxvision.com, learn how to work with me. I am a soul guide and holistic educator. I do one-on-one sessions. I also run a variety of events here in Portland, Oregon. So if you're in the area, you're looking for awakening community, please connect with me and I will help you to be integrated into the community. You are wonderful and awesome, and I hope you have a magical day.